All right, well. Not that you all can't pick up capsules along the way, though I won't pull them until we take a break. I want to begin... Hey, that's next week, Cold Spark. Pardon me. Suddenly, you know, this goes from miniature painting into a we're treating ourselves as miniatures, and it's now a body painting stream. I don't know if I have the qualifications to be a popular body painter. All right. So, let's get down to business. To defeat the Huns. That's hey, Drizkill. So we're going to address the lovely heart-shaped elephant in the room. When Subclasses 2 was leaked or accidentally put out there, if you want to consider that to be a conspiracy, like Wizards knew what they were doing because they weren't sure if people were going to accept the love domain, and so they put it out there as like a, mea culpa, that, you know, that wasn't finished. We didn't mean for that to happen. I mean, look, we can come up with conspiracy theories about whatever. So I'm not interested in that aspect of things, though what we do know is that Subclasses 2 was found, and it did get people excited, and in particular, the love domain ended up ruffling feathers because of the way that it presented itself. As such, because of community feedback to the leak, Wizards quickly adjusted the document and released it the following week to be the Unity domain playtest material instead. And I wanted to bring this up to put some context on the characters, because, you know, I think we as a community are both tactful and open-minded enough that while there are some that have not appreciated the love domain, can we still work? Is it still usable, right? Can we test it? You know, in this kind of agnostic workshop, is the love domain onerous and horrible? I mean, this is the internet. You're going to get opinions on both sides that it is literally the best thing ever. Wizards was on the ball. They got this one right, hit it out of the park. And then you get others who just say that this is it's problematic. It is subversive. It is, I mean, we can use all kinds of words and tags, because look, this is the internet and we all have opinions, and especially for something as personal as the concept of love, we are emotionally invested in it. And so I don't fault people who look at this and say, this isn't the type of love that I can understand, recognize, appreciate, or that I would allow at my table. I get it. I totally do. You think the AL history of the filter of love probably left a sour taste in some people's mouths for similar... Can you describe that, Cold Spark? It sounds like a reference, but I can't discuss it because I don't know it. I feel it's better it came out and that they changed it. Tesla says, so the meta-textual reason for Unity's existence is because some people find the idea of love offensive. Not the idea of love, but the concept of love with how the mechanics introduce this concept as a domain into a game of Dungeons and Dragons. I can, yes, this link will not lead you to the document that you see on screen, because this one was pulled This one was pulled off of the interwebs because Wizards said, yeah, we're probably not going to keep this one up. So it's up on this. Oh, you know what? Ha! I've been talking this whole time with the. I'm a professional, everyone. I've been talking this whole time. So here's the love domain. The filter of love is banned in Adventurers League after someone used it in-game as a date rape drug. Ah, yes. And this is where... So this is the beginning, right? The snowball begins with a small incident, and it rolls and rolls. Well, so that is the crux, right? We have something that is declared the love domain, and it gives it does give very good context. Love exists in many forms: compassion, infatuation, friendly affection, and passionate love as a few facets. I think we can agree with that. I don't think there's anything offensive. There is fraternal love. There is, I really love cherry Diet Pepsi. I love you, you love me, we're a big family. Barney, right? Whatever form these feelings take, there's also like unrequited love, platonic love. There's all kinds of... No, Chris, I started singing Barney and Chris is taken off. So we have various concepts. I mean, there's even tainted love. Womp, womp. Whatever form these feelings take, the gods of love deepen the bonds between individuals. And so there's the core for what they're going, or what is being intended to be presented. And there are some in-game, like Dragonlance with Mashakal. There's also some IRL pantheons that are providing a framework. You know, not so much a hard line in the sand, but are presenting these are the concepts of love gods. And you know what? You could have Aphrodite's here. If you want to have other Roman takes, Cupid. If you want to have Eros. I mean, you can have, there is eroticism. And by the way, this workshop, I don't think we need to tag it as mature, because everything is staying in context, and we're discussing things like adults here, especially when it comes to love, because we've had our hearts broken. We've had, we've had our feelings of love and of lust. We've had one-sided crushes. We've also done things that a lot of people, we might have even had friends or family say, you are stupid. Stop it. This person isn't worth your time, your money, your emotion. Why are you giving him or her all this money? Why are you traveling all this way? He or she's never done anything more than text message you back. And you're buying gifts for this person, or you are, she's with another guy, or that he's not interested in you. There's so many situations where we've encountered love, and it's been meaningful and deep. It's brought us to tears, because love is invoked at funerals and at weddings and at births. We've done stupid stuff because of love. You don't have to nominate yourself, but there are people who exist that have used love in an abusive manner. Probably not Death Angel. I mean, they're referenced in the Dungeon Master's Guide, but I don't know if it'll ever get a print like it did in 3rd edition. All right, so I think, right, so far so good. Things are being addressed. Context is being built. Everything's copacetic. We good? We good. Clerics of these gods preside over marriages and other familial bonding customs, but they also nurture the emotional bonds of friendship and camaraderie. Their divine blessings bolster and protect allies in battle through these deep bonds and enkindle flares of infatuation to spur their allies and confound their foes. Okay, kind of getting the gist. This is preparing us for what is to come. And we see from the love domain spells, there are spells that show up on the normal cleric spell list. This is just, locking them in so it could free you up for something else. What you do see here is that there is a lot of enchantment spells. And of course, enchantment spells in D&D are meant to change people's minds, to influence their memories, their emotions. For as much as necromancy gets a bad rap because it could be considered desecrating corpses, and violating various closely held religious beliefs. I'm not saying it's not. Enchantment for some people is seen as the ultimate sin because you're doing things like manipulating behavior, you're modifying memories, you're doing these things that affect a person on this fundamental level. Is the Love Cleric the only one who casts enchantment spells? No. In fact, there's a wizard school that explicitly does this. Crumdrade says, there was a great segment in a recent campaign I watched where the party found a back room in a library with valuable books with titles like Tusk Love and Under the Harvest Moon and 50 Shades of Drow. Daly says, just send a bunch of elves at them. Charm ain't working. Well, and yeah, there's many monsters and even player races. Mechanically, will have immunity or resistance to charm. And there's a lot of magic items and effects that can end charm as well. So the concept to the spell list is that love does cause emotional confusion, dedication. Love can change hearts and minds. And these are spells that do just that. If we're talking about a love domain, I don't really see why enchantment spells, and I know we're building to this. For some of you, you're like, you're not addressing the thing. Get to the thing. It's the thing, Maddie. It's the thing. Yeah, Bobo, we have 2 new emotes. There's Howdy, and for segments like this, we're using our big brain energy. And so all of you out there have big brain energy, that you're subscribers. And so don't be afraid to flex that big brain energy either. Yep, there we go. Daily is sizzling up in the cranium here. So we have Charm Person, Enthrall, Hypnotic Pattern, Confusion, Hold Monster. Could you stop here and start taking issue, right? We started with very, I think many people can agree this is fine. It doesn't even really address sexual feelings, whether for just, eroticism or intimacy, or just plain old fertility. A fundamental building block of what we need to continue as a species. And so it's even carving out, this, it's a concept we can bring in, but that's not what the presentation is here. At least not directly. I mean, you can argue Aphrodite and other derivatives here, would encourage, sexuality or reproduction, things along those lines. So they preside over community festivals and marriages. Again, good. This is the start of where people are probably saying, well, is enthrall or charm person? Well, of course, Prince Charming. Of course, we're attracted to charming people. Then we're running into the beginning turbulence of our personal concepts of love versus a manifestation of rules inside of a role-playing game. And to make things more complicated, we're not even talking about a specific context of where it's being used. The mentality, the accepted content is every table is different. Every table is different. And there are many of you out there. I'm going to speak broadly. I mean, if you want to say, heck yeah, I'd run this, I don't have anything against you. If the knowledge that this existed and how dare this came from Wizards of the Coast and you are personally offended, okay. Because that's your interpretation. That's the beauty of humanity, is we're really messy. Especially about love. In general, D&D tends too adversarial to find a mechanically useful application for love that doesn't stir controversy. And so, yes, Tesla, you're bringing us back up from the murky depths, or you're acting as a guide from the weeds. If we go to the ultra meta of D&D, while it is a storytelling game, it is a game of role-playing and building adventure and a lot of other things. The core of D&D is conflict and tension that is brought about by the imposition of oneself on another person or object. I almost sound like Bricktop from Snatch describing what Nemesis is. And if you're not familiar with that scene, go check it out. D&D is a tactical fighting game. Whether it's done in battle, or it's done with skill checks to make a new hammer, whether it's done for even in roleplay, whether there could be skill challenges. There is an underwriting presumption that if someone gets a higher number than you, that they win. There will be done, an injury is caused, a wound is healed, or something along those lines. And you're absolutely correct, Tesla, where this is the ultimate framework meta for D&D. And so if we're talking about applying an emotion that is universal to humanity and is just as beautiful and ugly as humanity can be simultaneously, there will be feathers that are ruffled. Yeah, Bobo, we're diving into the love domain as it was presented before it was pulled back and replaced with the Unity domain. Tesla, you're 2 steps ahead of me, and that's fine. You are correct. If we read classical history or mythology, a lot of what is presented here, and of course D&D is also built on classical history, mythology, and the like. We have other concepts of love, even as they were accepted in the populace. And look at even this country, the U.S., and look at what our concept of love is in 2020 as compared to 1990. And 1990, I think by many was considered to be a great, a societal, like a progressive decade. And, where the internet was born and a lot of other, catchphrases, that a concept of political correctness and all sorts of things are starting to, to come along. And there are people today that would look at 1990 and go, those are barbaric savages with a backwards way of thinking. And only 30 years have passed. Let alone going back, and we have mythological creatures that charm others. You know, we have sirens, we have merfolk, you know, we have monsters. We even have a concept of love through arranged political marriages, or through other just arranged marriages among common villagers. A concept of love that exists with a denomination of a faith. And because of the muddied waters, you know, where we have classical romantic concepts of the strapping Greek soldier going out and you know, where other men would succumb to the wiles and affections of whomever, our hero loves his country more and dedicates himself to the adventure. We have Victorian romance novels where bodices seemingly always have flimsy lace straps and biceps are always rippling as a form of love. I was at a table at a convention many years ago. One of the players was a young teen playing a paladin. We ended up in a brothel, and the paladin ended up making use of the services after checking with the DM to make sure that it wouldn't adversely affect his standing as a paladin. And that, you know, that could be commentary for the time and culture. That could be just commentary on, hey, you know what? It was communication at the tabletop on that table. Doesn't mean that the DM or the player was bad. Or that, you know, brothels or, you know, sex workers are, you know, we're not making political commentary about that in, you know, that regard. But there was communication. It apparently was allowed, and everyone had a good time. D&D has night hags and onis, monsters that eat children, and that's okay because someone could misuse a domain. We can't have love. So again, because this is something that so many different people can have many opinions on, you're going to hear that. So we have, you know, just as before, we have a conjuration-focused bard. Here we have an enchantment-focused cleric. Now, what is the major difference between the two? Is it emboldening bond? You can forge an empowering bond between allies. As an action, you can choose 2 willing creatures you can see within 30 feet of you. Hang on one second. Okay, let's go to Unity. Where was I? And create a magical bond between them. While either bonded creature is within 30 feet of the other, the creature can roll a d4 and add the number rolled to an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw it makes. Let's go back to love. Each creature can add the d4 no more than once per turn. The bond lasts for 1 hour or until you use this feature again. You can use this feature once and you regain the ability to do so when you finish a long rest. You can also expend a spell slot to use the feature again. Hey, Carl, welcome. So, emboldening bond survived between love and unity. An empowering bond, as an action, you choose 2 willing creatures. Now, this is... I think this is where we can explore some commonalities. Love, especially in today's presentation or acceptance of it, the individual nature of it. 2 willing creatures. And so this is hammering home what you hear many people talk about. What? Safe, sane, and... what's the C word? What's the C word, everyone? Crickets. Hey, Kevin, you gotta have consent. You gotta have consent. Two willing creatures is a mechanical, it's a D&D mechanical phrase for consent. That said, what Tesla said earlier is there are many spells where if consent isn't given, a die roll can overrule that and remove a person's life or other aspects. So emboldening bond survived. I think we can agree. Two willing creatures, a cleric of love. Do you? Congratulations. As long as you don't have an old crone going boo, boo to the queen of putrescence, then you're good. Now, let's go to Channel Divinity, right? We know that Emboldening Bond survived the cut. Cool, right? I foster love. You two, you get along well. As love had been presented, it doesn't have to be sexual. It doesn't have to, if you as either a character or the player have an opinion on homosexuality, this isn't saying, that, your two male characters have to go smoochy smooch to get mechanical benefits. This is simply, the bonds of friendship. We have a love of adventure, or we've developed, we've developed this adventuring friendship relationship that this love is fostering. It doesn't have to be sexual attraction. It doesn't have to be romantic. This could even just be the love of a good fight, and you're going back to back. You each have each other's backs, kind of like a Legolas and Gimli, and you are just battle brothers fighting it out. And now we come to, like a bromance. And so, it doesn't force an agenda. It doesn't, mechanically, it's not getting anyone out of a comfort zone. Well, presumably. I mean, we can be different. Well, Chris, I'm glad. Look, because I don't have a political agenda. I don't have a societal agenda. I'm not here to harvest. I'm not here to harvest upvotes, and I'm also not here to flex and try and show off to some other opposing group. Let's just talk about what's in front of us. Just treat it like the adults that we are. Like a Frodo and Samwise. There you go. All right, so now we get to Channel Divinity. This is the manifestation of your god or gods through you as an agent. With the love domain, this is called impulsive infatuation. And it was even precluded up here, right? Flares of infatuation. And up here we're probably like, yeah, we've all felt that before. Have you seen someone that you either instantly fell in love with, or that you had someone fall in love with you even if it wasn't returned? Or you have the best spaghetti ever. Oh! Mi corazon! That's a spicy meatball. Flares of infatuation? Cool. And we see that down here, impulsive infatuation? Got it. So what's impulsive infatuation? You can use your channel divinity to overwhelm a creature with a flash of short-lived but intense admiration for you, driving them to rash action in your defense. Now, careful selection of words. This is not, while this is the love domain, this is admiration. You can admire someone without loving them or needing to, to jump them later when, you put the old gorget on the tent flap and everyone knows to go take a walk for an hour. It doesn't imply that. It doesn't require love. This is admiration, right? You say or do something, you invoke your god, and the person who is looking at you in this case, in the presence of this mighty divine manifestation, gets this, As an action, you present your holy symbol and choose one creature you can see within 30 feet of you. A creature could be a goblin, could be a wolf, could be a fire elemental. It could even be yo mama. As long as they're within 30 feet of you, boom, there's your target. That creature must make a wisdom saving throw. Now we're getting a little adversarial, like what Tesla was precluding earlier. A creature can choose to fail the saving throw if it wishes. So you might actually have an admirer who is going to reap the benefits of being driven to action. Their kokoro goes doki doki, and their body follows through on that impulse. Because Senpai Kami noticed you. Or would it be Kami Senpai? On a success, the creature is unaffected. On a failure, the creature is charmed by you until the start of your next turn. Okay, charm effect. Some resistances and immunities, it might not work on everything. Though there's a great many things, such as goblins or yo mama, that this could work on. It must immediately use its reaction to make a weapon attack against a target that you designate. If there are no valid targets, it uses its reaction to admire you. So, it is a channel, mechanically. Let's just strip away everything first, and then we'll apply the flavor. We'll take you to Flavor Town. Hold on. Mechanically, you use your channel divinity use in order to force the consumption of a reaction that could possibly deal extra damage in combat, or have an extra rider. I mean, if the person that you charmed has a flaming sword, then they're gonna set something or someone else on fire. Hey, welcome back, Shukan. Another kobold was pulled while you were out. Hey, After Fov. After Fov says the first thing I hear when I come into the chat here is yo mama. Welcome to the workshop. Age of Tesla. Tesla is pulling a reverse Dirty Dozens on us by actually taking the yo mama joke as a reply, implying my mom could fit within 30 feet. I mean, if this is going to break down into D&D Dirty Dozens, then let's at least get through this content first, and then we'll, Yo Mama's int score is so low. Anyway. Kami Senpai, says Cold Spark. Senpai is theoretically an honorific, as far as I know. But Kami is a god. And so, there's an honorific and there's a noun, but which one is superior? Krumdrade, yeah, I heard some hapones and woke up. Isn't this a similar effect to Symbol of Insanity? I don't know offhand, Tesla. I'm not familiar with that as a spell or an artifact. Though, again, we've stripped away the fluff and we're going for the crunch. Crunch-wise, pure crunch-wise, this is an okay mechanic. I don't think it's overpowered. You can use it universally, but all it does is eat up a reaction. Mechanically, Lamau. All right? Now we apply the concept of love, or the concept that we are here to bring people together, if not romantically. And there is, through the description, an interpretation where you can use love in order to kill or injure other people. And more specifically, that your love is forcing someone to injure, destroy, or kill on your behalf. And so it is with impulsive infatuation, not that it's mechanically broken, but in the context of what's been presented and with our individual concepts of love. For some people, this is horrible. For some people, this is abuse. There's a song about tainted love, but, this taints the concept of love. For others of you out there, you might say, no, I get it. I've had impulsive infatuation, and honestly, I'm playing a fantasy game of D&D where I'm not going to let a die roll actually affect my IRL morality or my IRL concept of love, as I do not abuse other people. And you may not see it as such. I get that. This, however, is the major hang-up, backed by other people who feel uneasy with enchantment spells. And so when you have two things that either on their own, might say, well, I might allow the one, but both, where, we have love, we can't help but take it in our own personal direction. And then it is presented, it is processed mechanically into an interpretation to our tabletop that love is about charming people to manipulate their emotions, to enthrall them, to baffle them with a hypnotic pattern, that love causes confusion, and it does, though this is a mechanical. In fact, I have the player's handbook open, what is confusion? This spell assaults and twists creatures' minds. Now, this is the fluff. Still, if you're already upset, or if you play by what the book says, and you have a DM that doesn't allow you to reflavor, you might even be willing to work with a DM, but your DM says, no, you play it by the book. You say, well, do I have to assault and twist a mind? Or can I at least refluff? Because if we look at the core mechanic of confusion, this is going to be a microcosm for the love domain. Spawning delusions and provoking uncontrolled action. Each creature in a 10-foot radius sphere centered on a point you choose within range must succeed on a wisdom saving throw when you cast this spell or be affected by it. And now we get to the actual crunch. Remove the fluff. You don't have to twist someone's noodle to, fluff-wise in order to cause confusion. An affected target can't take reactions and must roll a d10 at the start of each of its turns to determine the behavior for the turn. This can absolutely be refluffed in a different way. Though, when we're talking about, again, we have several small storms that are culminating off the coast, off the east coast of culture and concept, to form into a perfect storm. Where we have a cleric of love who brings people together, and then we read that they have a built-in spell from the god of love itself, his self, herself, whatever self. This spell assaults and twists the creature's minds, spawning delusion and provoking uncontrolled action. So, we're over the halfway point, Wolfblade. Tesla, you're still 2 steps ahead, and that's absolutely fine. There are 2 prize goblins left. No, the gold prize goblin is left, Raz. That's the last one remaining. Sorry, I missed some chat up here. Shukan, Ohio, Goshijin-sama. Hey, Bubonic, we're discussing the love domain. After Fav says, my mom had a seriously morbid sense of humor, she would laugh. Shukan makes a character a yandere. Death says, my mother-in-law likes to pick my stuff up and put them into boxes up in the closet. Now she's in a box up in the closet. Oh, jeez. This is when Wolfblade comes back. Raz is asking about prize goblins. Alright, I think we're caught up here. Wolfblade says, I'm giving my girlfriend an uncontrollable action for Valentine's Day. And so, I mean, in chat, you see how we can have fun. There's tongue-in-cheek stuff. We might share our stories of, of love or lust, of conquest, as some of us might describe it in the locker room, or even among family members, or, like, oh, yeah, my girlfriend, oh, boy, what it took to woo her. And, because these are individual, contextual responses to all of our concepts of love. And so here the channel divinity changed. Because protective bond, the bond you forge between people shields them from harm, while either creature chosen for your, and we can go back and forth. So, emboldening bond is the same. The bond you forge between people shields them, and so remember, the basis of this is 2 willing creatures, is consent, which I think is near universal in all of our different interpretations of love. And I understand that. Potent spellcasting, because we're more of a casty than a hitty. And this also gets potent spellcasting. And then we get enduring unity, which further strengthens the bond that we create. And wouldn't you know, boy howdy, enduring unity is the same in the unity and love kind of mirrors between each other. And so the crux of the argument that this is not a good representation of love, it could be something else. And you know what? Age of Tesla said, perhaps this is more of a seduction. This is more of an enchantment. More of a one-way imposition of oneself. But you can see how powerful an emotion love is for all of us. When we might agree, I think this is an awesome spell list. And I can absolutely see a cleric having a loadout like this. Is it love? And then does the love jive with the manifestation of the holy presence of the deity, where you can have your mama, you can force your mama, to hit your dumb brother for doing something stupid. And possibly your mama might crit and kill your little brother because you forced your mama to do so on a failed saving throw out of love. Could the whole thing, honestly, could this still just be called unity? I think unity carries a different weight. And we're going to explore what impulsive infatuation has become next. Though, I think you can run this at a tabletop, and I think even people out there who do have a problem with the love domain as it was presented might say, you know what, if you just change it from the word love to seduction, now, seduction can imply more sexuality, and I think D&D has done, it's not that it's removed, heck, you can roll up a brothel. Exists in the DMG for random in. How many brothels have we rolled up in chat? You know, so it recognizes that sex exists. It's trying not to bring it up because especially sexuality it's not just a hot potato, it is a radioactive potato among people. Even people who might agree on many other things. And so seduction in concept could work, though I think that would bring another dimension into this that would be kind of a sticky wicket for this to be presented as even a seduction domain. I don't know what you'd want to call it to, or call it in something else. You know, we have charm person and heroism, enthrall, beacon of hope, hypnotic pattern, aura of purity, confusion. You know, in a sense, this is almost mirroring some of the compelled action that the domain of order, right? What is law but an external imposition of will on other people? It's an external imposition of will. Though, of course, you know, law is a little bit more neutral sounding, or order. I think it's order in Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. If you have a, you know, this could be an order domain, or some sort of like a leadership, some sort of leadership domain even. Because leadership is neutral enough that you have good leaders and bad leaders. Leaders are supposed to inspire you and also compel you. You know, we even have a war domain. I mean, because we were talking about earlier, how is love offensive as a domain when we have a war domain? Where people murder each other in war. Because one people like the color blue and the other people like the color red. And they make jokes along the way in their power armor. It's the Halo, right? That's old Rooster Teeth content, everyone. This could be a kind of leadership domain. As a leader, you charm people, you enthrall them. You know, you have ways to gleam, the brass, the metals on your chest, glimmer. You command people to act. Or just to stall them out. We exude an aura of purity. We can restore people's faith. We can hold someone with our well, not charisma as a casting, but you get what I'm saying in broad concept. And so I think you could leave this untouched and simply, instead of love, call it something like leadership domain. And I think that would work. And even those who would have a qualm about love might even accept everything mechanically, as long as the one word is changed to something that is more appropriate than the imposition. I think it's the imposition that is grating against the consent that even is brought up in all of the lead-up text, let alone our own thoughts and feelings. What am I missing? Let's see. Well, if we're getting more in-law jokes in chat, my goodness. You'll never have enough gold for a +1 to marriage. The Unity domain shares enduring unity? Nani? Oh, jeez. We're moving from marriage to taxes? Ugh! Classic myths, Greek, Egyptian, and authorial saw love as cruelty as much as a blessing. After Fov, yes, and we did bring that up. You can bring it up now for sure. We did bring that up that in historical and mythological context, love was not, you know, our concept in our, you know, of love today, for many people, is vastly different than what it was, even culturally acceptable back in Get Ye Flask times, whether it was in fiction or real life. Tesla says, I have another question about the impulse skill. If the target would choose to fail the saving throw, couldn't you just tell them what to do instead? You can. Though, Tesla, this is... You can. This is a mechanical trigger in a set of mechanical rules of adversarial resolution to conflict, where a rule says that we can use, we are guaranteed, if our DM allows this as as content, this guarantees the use of the reaction instead of just a mundane, yeah, you do that. Because there isn't a rule that says that you can. And, because there's other things that make people use reactions kind of similarly. And so the reason for this is simply to invoke a mechanic that bends the normal set of rules that we abide by. So that our reaction can be used in that way. So it consumes a resource and it provides a benefit to the person who consumed the resource. You roll for performance with the talk at your table. And you know what, Wolfblade? If everyone at your table's fine with it, you can get as gritty as you want. I mean, you can, if you're having fun, and what you're doing at your table stays at your table. If it could affect other people, then hey, you're playing D&D just the same as anyone else. Sex is natural. I don't know why people get funny about it. Because we're funny people, Wolfblade. And we all understand it, use it, and enjoy it in different ways. Some people not at all. Now, you can't account for how every single person takes every single view of everything. But because it is something that is so personal to all of us, it is a source of continual controversy. Because our sexuality is as unique as we are. Kevin says, I'm fine with it being allurement, temptation, or enticement, but as it was, Purple Man masquerading as love. Is that like Five Nights at Freddy's is what you're talking about, Kevin? Cold Spark confirms order domain. Oh, my goodness. Raz?
I would like to buy a capsule prize, goblin, or paper.
Yes! We will summon a capsule for you, Raz, in just a moment! Actually, that looks really wizardly with the background. Best game I ever played. I played a fighter that paid for a prostitute. She turned out to be a vampire. Instead of fighting her, I decided to get it on with her. She left him alive. She turned out to be a spy. My character seduced her, brought her to the good guy side, and she helped us win the campaign. It was the backstory of a 3-year game. That's a cool story. Shukon's back. Crumb Draw Day is taken off. Good morning to you, Psyart. Ooh, a nice thick broth for ramen. That sounds really good, Shukon. Senin, we're having a discussion first before we get into the character. All right, I've caught up in chat. Oh, Purple Man from Marvel. Yeah. If none of you have seen Jessica Jones, Jessica Jones is an awesome street-level superhero show. Street-level stuff. Purple Man or Kilgrave is by far the scariest villain you could hope to encounter. And I'm not talking about Purple Man Thanos. Purple Man, in that regard, Kevin is correct, is a truly nefarious, scary villain. I don't remember offhand. So if it's a cop-out, I'm going to have to say it's been out long enough that if it is a spoiler, sorry, not sorry. But I think it was even in Season 1, so you don't have to worry. All right. In the correction, what was handled? Well, the deities were modified to fall more in line about this. I was going to say Cromdrade, but Cromdrade had taken off. Camaraderie. Right? We have Heimdall. We have Paladin in Dragonlance, as opposed to Meshakal. You know, like the discs of Meshakal, if you're familiar. Or if we go to Norse with Freya. So the gods were curated to create a similar contextual boundary to what Unity is presenting. A sense of oneness shines at the heart of healthy communities, whether bound together by friendship, blood, faith, or some other uniting force. The gods of Unity deepen such bonds and delight in their strength. Clerics of these gods preside over marriages and other familial bonding customs. So, similar concept, different tone. But they also nurture the emotional bonds of friendship and camaraderie. Their divine blessings bolster and protect allies in battle through these deep bonds and turn aside malign influences. So, deities adjusted. Domain spells. Let's go between the two. Charm Person, Heroism, and Love. Heroism and Shield of Faith in Unity. Aid and Warding Bond in Unity. Enthrall and Warding Bond in Love. Beacon of Hope and Hypnotic Pattern in Love. Beacon of Hope and Sending in Unity. Aura of Purity and Guardian of Faith in Unity. Aura of Purity and Confusion in Love. Greater Restoration and Hold Monster in Love. Greater Restoration and Rary's Telepathic Bond in Unity. You can see then where the enchantment spells that were tagged on here, those were really the ones that were dropped and replaced with more like abjuration. Or at least similarly styled spells. Because we are Unity, we're stronger together. We're working together. Our anime friendship can beat any monster or bad guy. And so the spells were slightly modified, while there's still a core of things like Heroism and Beacon of Hope that, of course, Love, can compel people to heroic acts in very, very good-natured ways. The love of a spouse back home can keep the soldier fighting, even though he or she is tired on the front lines, wants to go home, or even was injured, but is going to hang in there. So, the spells were swapped up as well to go back and support this concept of unity. Emboldening Bond, Protective Bond, Potent Spellcasting, and Enduring Unity are all the same. Instead of the Infatuation, it was changed to Shared Burden. You can use your Channel Divinity to protect your allies through the strength of your shared bonds. When a creature you can see within 30 feet of you takes damage, you can use your reaction to choose a number of other willing creatures, so consent. And this is just pure, right? Other willing creatures you can see up to a number of creatures equal to your wisdom modifier, minimum 1. Distribute the damage taken between the original target and the chosen creatures. Each creature must take at least 1 damage. Apply any damage resistance or vulnerability of the creatures involved after you distribute the damage. I think this is thematic to Unity. Could this just be put into Love to fix Love? Even if you agree with the spells? I don't think it's as thematic. I mean, certainly there are people who, whether it's romantic love because they are a polyamorous group of 3 or more, or because it's just it's an affection that a group of people have where they're all willing to, sort of give up for the cause something, because we share this love, like a community. A community, everyone chips in to build a church because of their love of the message that it sends, whatever denomination or whatever. I think that overall everything here supports unity. I don't think unity itself is anyone can contest anything. We're on the internet. I think overall this is a solid domain. Everything supports this shared burden. This, could be powerful. I don't know if this is mechanically bad. You're using a reaction to deflect damage. It could be from you onto someone else. You can have a willing tiefling take all the fire damage and just soak half, soak half of it because of the resistance. I don't know. I don't think it's too busted, and I think it's thematic. Good mechanically, in my opinion. Good mechanically. Good crunch, good fluff. Let me catch up in chat here. Ever since I first played D&D, I turned everything into D&D stuff. What if you wrote a movie, but as you wrote it, you rolled dice to see which outcome happens? I mean, that's kind of what we do in the workshop. Death Angel says all the spells that could push someone towards an action were replaced with more docile ones. Yeah, and that's why I think this can work towards something like command or leadership. I can see love as doing this as well. I am not in the camp where this offends me. And if someone's offended, I'm not saying that that's a bad person. I'm just not offended by this. I think it could be more easily reflavored and even keep everything. Keep the Chandiv and keep the domain spells, but rename it into something like leadership or command or something like that. And so unity is more docile. It's, we're working together. I'm a support caster in the group. Nothing wrong with that. But yeah, it's not as proactive. This is, we have the power of anime friendship. A spirit link totem in World of Warcraft. Ah, okay. Do you save the inspiration given to DM or players each session? There are some that are carried over, Wolfblade. We finished the Tuesday game, so I think that's going to fall off. And then we're going to renew again after the events that happened, because that was a rough session. West River to Wolfblade. I've done it that way. I've also done it where inspiration gets reset every session. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Inspiration is what I named the channel points. I thought you were talking about redeeming that on Tuesday. No, it floats. If it's used until you get more. But I do not automatically reset it on a session. Welcome, Hark. Here we have two functional domains. One, even if am I correct to say that at least in the chat, who we have and what we've built, even if some of you do not like the word love, like is love the crux, and would you accept this if it was named something else like leadership? All the same, I think both of these domains, I mean, we could call one we could call one Huvabaloo and the other Mishmash. We have the Huvabaloo domain and the Mishmash domain. Mechanically, I think they work very well. The fluff is what is ruffling feathers. A quick change, and there we go. Well, if you would like to replace Unity, with something else, hey, shout it out. It's fine to do. If you don't think that this is offering a sense of unity, or to put someone in a position that you would consider, or somehow this abuses the concept of unity, hey, throw it out there. 5 more hours and I'm out for 5 days. Oh, freedom, Wolf. You think Unity's mechanics work fine for love? I think you can replace it in that sense, too. Yeah. This could just be love domain if you want. Can you multi-class a Mishmash? I'm sure you can, but remember, you can't multi-class 2 domains. And so you can't be 5 Huvabaloo, 3 Mishmash. And also, Fluffy Sheepwood says, I would never accept Mishmash domain. Oh, hey, going to Italy for 9 days. Excellent. All right. Now, with these concepts then, everyone, I think we had an awesome discussion. We handled something that maybe you all have heard was blowing up on the internet. And of course, if it blows up on the internet, you're going to have people go, this is literally the worst. Wizards of the Coast are, tone deaf, culturally insensitive, right? Hyperbole in one direction. Then, of course, that feeds hyperbole from another direction, where suddenly we have taken, over the course of this hour-long discussion, and really what we've come up with is just rename it. It's all you had to do. It's functional. It works. We can understand. And again, people like me, I can accept that as a love domain. But my game isn't your game. My table is not your table. In fact, my one table, the table I run at my store, isn't the same table I run for on Tuesday on the channel. Well, yeah. That is a whole other topic that... Death Angel, I already opened up one can of worms with the discussion of love and concepts of it. If it comes to things like corporate neutrality in societal morals, we can go another workshop, another discussion. Welcome, Lowell. If you would like to contribute to the discussion, you're certainly welcome to do so. Oh, it can last a while. But look, we've discussed it. We've addressed the topic. I think we found a great resolution that everyone at our table can agree with in your own personal ways. It didn't have to raise hackles. We didn't have to get political. We didn't have to, preach from a moral puppet, or pulpit. Cool. We're productive. We did things. My goodness.